When I saw something like this in the middle of the episode, I could only think of one word. And that one word was relatable. You don't know how many times it happens to me when I sit down and I listen or read any form of literature, I self-insert myself into the story. It's something I do quite often. Either it comes to gaming, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, anything. And when I saw that line by Violet Evergarden in this episode, I was like, yeah, that's definitely me. That summarizes what I do. And when she is relating with the characters of a story, I'm like, that's what I'm doing right now. That's exactly what I'm doing while watching this episode. And it's kind of like the fourth wall was broken in that moment, because I was like, Violet is reading a story within Violet Evergarden, this story, and I'm seeing her story, and I'm relating with her, and I'm like, damn, I just like, KyoAni, you're doing a good job. Like, you're doing a really good job with, like, relaying the feels throughout these episodes. And this is one of those episodes that just got me feeling. Not gonna lie, it did. So, the concept of this episode is fairly simple on paper, but at the same time, no, thanks to KyoAni being masters at what they do, and being able to have a very beautiful environment, the color palette was amazing, to also these characters, it makes for a very enjoyable episode. And so the concept of this episode is where, once again, Violet is being tasked to ghostwrite for someone. But this time, instead of ghostwriting for someone like maybe for a princess, or writing a letter for someone, it's completely different. This ain't even a love letter this time. What happens in this episode is where she is tasked to write a story. A writer that writes books and stuff, he is at that point in time in his life where he's not as good. Like, he's getting older, he's not, all well right now, like he's sick, and, he's asked, Violet to basically be able to write what he wants to be written in a book. So he's like saying what he wants in the book, and then she's writing it down. And so he's a famous writer. Many people have been looking forward to this man's books for a very long time, and finally he's getting around after a long hiatus to sit down and finish this book, which is meant for children. It's a children's story. This character, okay, the character that was introduced in this episode, which was the writer, I couldn't help but feel sad for this man, because something has happened to this man when the episode opens up and you see how this man's entire room is basically trashed. It's like his living situation, you can see he doesn't take care of himself, he doesn't take care of his house. And when you see a house or whatever in ruins or in wreck, it can mean a magnitude of things, but the big thing that it can come down to is depression. For instance, someone is very depressed, it had something happen, they just either haven't had the time, or they're very depressed. And when you see the man sitting in this room that's dirty, you see glass and all that over the ground, you're like, yeah, this man, obviously something bad has had to happen to him. Also, for him going out of his way to drink constantly, he's constantly drinking, it shows that he is in some ways an alcoholic at the moment. He's relying on drinking to get rid of the pain. Like, he wants to just completely remove pain, for he doesn't feel it any longer, so he's relying on alcohol to make the pain go away. And so, like I said, at this point of the episode, you knew something happened to the man. You knew whatever happened has made him to be like this, and it's probably going to be something for Violet's character for her to mature. So as we found out more about this dude, eventually we get bits and pieces, and we find out that the writer, at one point in time, he had a daughter. And we realize that the book he wants to write is actually based off of his daughter, his life and all that. It's fantasy, but it's related to his life. And it's based on this girl meeting up with her father once again, crossing this ocean, meeting up with her father. It's a fantasy series. From the flashback we got, he lost his daughter. And so, you gotta imagine that this book he was writing and all of that, it might have been the only thing that was making him remember and try to, think happy thoughts, but that wasn't enough, and he just went more and more deeper into the depressing hole that he was in. And the story is just completely linked with his daughter, and since his daughter died of an illness, it made it to where, he just didn't know what to do. He already lost his wife, and he was already overworked and all that, constantly working to make sure that he can, afford everything, help his daughter out through life, but eventually she also got sick. She died. And it's very sad. I'm just gonna say the emotions I got emotional. I was like, man, that's that's heartbreaking, especially when you have the music in the background. Like, I gotta compliment KyoAni for that. The music they have for that lake scene and all that, not just the Violet scene in this episode, but the lake scene with the daughter and all that, I gotta hand it to them. They did some really good stuff in this episode when it came to the soundtrack. It sounded perfect. Like, it fit with every scene, and the way it just, built upon the atmosphere that was being set up thanks to the dude and how he lost his daughter. I feel like this is probably one of the best episodes yet of Violet Evergarden since it released. So, carrying on forward, though, basically, Violet, she tries to cheer this man up and says, like, wait a minute, you can't just end the story like that. Like, you can't not complete the story because she's waiting to finally meet her father again. How will she get across? A boat or whatever? And the writer, he's like, I don't really know. He hasn't put much thought into it. And, as she finds out more, eventually Violet breaks down and starts crying, which was something that we haven't seen. We have not seen this emotion from Violet at all. Her tearing up and crying. And as I've said many times throughout my journey of reviewing this series, she lacks empathy, she doesn't understand emotions, and the whole point or journey of this series is for Violet to understand what it means to love someone, and what I love you actually means in the first place. That's what she wants to understand. And if you notice throughout these episodes, there's constant episodes showcasing different forms of love. Like we had, longing for someone, like their family and all that, or waiting for their family to return, to this episode now for someone that will never have their family member return because they're gone. It's more of a family love that we have been seeing in recent episodes, but different forms of it. And Violet has yet to really encounter the love which someone is actually in love with someone. Instead of family love, actually wanting to be with someone and be a couple. She has yet to really get to see that side yet besides family love, and it does seem like she's slowly starting to understand in a way, and it just makes me sad, especially when you see her break down and start crying. You realize in that moment that she knows now what it means to lose somebody, and in that moment she's thinking of the Major, for instance, that she's no longer with. For instance, he's gone, and at this point of the episode, she was unaware of what really happened to the Major. She was just assuming he was gone, and she just couldn't see him, and so she got very lonely in that moment, and she wanted to be with him. She realized that she was just sad, and eventually, at the end of the episode, it is revealed that the Major is dead. Now, it's not, confirmed, okay, we didn't see a body, there was no body, and going by the common law of anime and manga, what I have seen, if there's no body, then usually the dude is alive. However, this is KyoAni, and also this is more of a, letting go story, and also realizing some things that cannot be changed. Things or stuff you've done in your life you cannot, get rid of. You have these scars on you, which we saw in this episode when Violet was remembering her past and she saw blood on her hands. It shows that things you do in your life, you can't just get rid of them. And I feel like that's what that's trying to show, that the character, even though we didn't see a body, I'm inclined to believe he's actually dead instead of alive, even though, like I said, normal laws would make me assume he's alive. But yeah, it's sad because she doesn't want to believe it. She doesn't want to believe that the Major is gone, but someone that meant so much to her. And the information we get on that is apparently when she was dragging him out and all that, we know she was dragging him out without any arms. She's just pulling him with her teeth. When she finally got out, apparently she collapsed, and I'm assuming because of the blood loss and all that, which makes a lot of sense. She passed out, she collapsed, and apparently from what was said, the Major most likely pushed her out of the building before it got bombed, and he got crushed and buried under the rubble. Now, they found his dog tag, but they never found his body. That was never found at all, which, I mean, when it comes to rubble and being buried alive, it makes sense, but at the same time, no body wasn't discovered, so that gives Violet hope that the Major most likely could be alive. So that is a possibility, and so if he is alive, it does make sense, but at the same time, though, why has he yet to contact her? What is really holding him up? That is the big question, if he is still alive. But, getting into it, though, we also have in this episode that Violet has actually started to change people. Like, she has been actually helping people out with their lives, helping them, write letters, help them progress their lives, and helping them build something. And Violet realizes what she has done in her past. As a soldier, as someone that was in a war, she realized now the weight of what she did. She realizes the life she took wasn't just random things or random people. She ended people's dreams, their hopes, what they wanted to accomplish. And since she is a ghostwriter and she's become very acquainted with what people want or how they act now, and she now realizes what it feels like to be left alone and have someone wait for someone that may never return, she understands this feeling now, because she is actually one of the reasons why many people throughout the world will never meet up with their loved ones again, because she has ended their life. And she is burdened by this, its scars. And that's the whole message of when she feels like she's burning inside, she's burning up, is because she has a lot on her consciousness that she's going to have to be able to work through. Because when she finally realizes what she has done, that's going to be a whole nother set of challenges. Because we all thought it was just going to be like PTSD or something. I thought that's what it was going to be at first, like when the series first began. But that necessarily was not the point. Now, with her actually knowing what she has done in the war, now I think we're getting into the part where she probably is going to experience PTSD and what she actually has done to people. So, yeah, Violet Evergarden, the latest episode, I think this is episode 7 or 6, I forget the episode number, but, yeah, this is, a good story. Very good story. KyoAni has done a fantastic job, and they've got me emotionally connected with the characters. And, I say, the build-up and all that, the first few episodes is definitely worth it for what I'm getting now from the series, and I definitely recommend it. If you're still on the fence about watching Violet Evergarden, what are you doing? Stop what you're doing and watch it right now. It's truly an enjoyable series. So, I'm going to end it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. So please be safe, have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please stay healthy, please stay safe. Chibi out.